Welcome everyone to regular meeting of the Cornwall Board of Selectmen. I'd like to start the meeting with approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next is communications. Do we have any communications? Hearing none. Additions. I had 3 additions. One is Sharon Hospital public hearing. Second is the Little Guild proposal. And third is River Road embankment. Is there a second to add those 3 items to the agenda?
Yes, and if you can hear me, I have one more.
Okay, one more.
The
Yes.
one more was to allow us to have the senior lunch be moved indoors, starting with the month of October.
Okay,
Thank you.
welcome. Okay, so is there any other additions to the agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So first, Sharon Hospital public hearing. That I was talking to Maria Horn this morning, and she told me that the state has set a public hearing for Sharon Hospital closing of maternity services on the day of the public hearing is the 18th of October. The public hearing apparently starts at 10 o'clock in the morning and then continues to the afternoon. It is by Zoom. So that's coming up fairly quickly. That's also the day of our next meeting. There is going to be a rally in Sharon on the 16th, which is a Saturday, by Save Sharon Hospital. So there's a lot of, so that's not much time to get ready. This board did come out in opposition to that proposed closure, and I plan on testifying at public hearing and sending that letter to the state board that's overseeing this process ahead of the hearing. So any further thoughts on that? We'll again have a meeting before that, and we'll try to get information out to people about that, but that's obviously has been an issue of concern for the board. Any other thoughts about that? Okay. Next we have Little Guild. I believe they sent us a outline, some exciting news of their campaign to rebuild a facility at the current location. And I believe they're talking about this being a $4 million project.
Yeah.
They are for our support, not for $4 million. But I believe there are members from Little Guild representatives here to answer any questions we may have or talk to us. So I would turn the floor over to them, and we'll put this proposal up on the website so people can see what the news is and what they're talking about, what some of the COVID impacts have been on the guild, which has been in town for a very long time and has done a lot of service to pets in Cornwall and in the area. It also acts in coordination with our dog warden to give us a place to put dogs that are temporarily lost. So is there anyone from Little Guild like to speak to the issue?
Sure. Hi, Gordon. It's Jenny Langendorfer. Hello,
Hey,
everyone.
Jen.
Thank you for having us. I'm here with the Little Guild treasurer, Chuck Short, as well. I am the executive director of the Little Guild, and I know we sent you over a short novel earlier today to review. We just wanted you to have all of the information. But the Little Guild definitely has been. I won't go through it line by line. It's quite long, but we've definitely been impacted by COVID. Our staffing, our fundraising, our adoptions, our surrenders, and the needs in the community have also changed quite a bit that we're trying to address. So those are the big takeaways from how COVID has affected us. We're 2 years into this process of working on and planning this facility, so it's not brand new. We come to you with actually quite a bit of momentum, and we're super excited, obviously, to stay in Cornwall at our current location. Chuck, did you want to add anything to that, or we could open it up to questions, or?
Just that, I just would kind of reaffirm what Jenny was saying. We've spent a lot of time. We've got a very engaged board. We've created, outreach committees to understand what shelters, not only what we're currently doing, but what shelters across the country do. And one of the takeaways from that is it's really not just purely about adoptions anymore. A lot of it is about developing programs to keep animals in the homes where they currently are. So that means education, it means training. It means things like our pet pantry, where we provide food services, medical services, our pity party, a whole host of programs that are really designed to kind of keep animals where they are. Because as Jenny indicated, you were highly impacted by COVID in terms of, reduction in our fundraising activities, as most nonprofits suffered. They couldn't have, benefits and get-togethers. But it also saw that we had a lot of animals going out for adoption. But now that people start going back to work, that we're seeing a lot of surrenders. And a lot of those surrenders are often animals that have problems, medical or behavioral problems. And our mission really is to try to get, find the right match between an animal that's ready to go into a home and the right home. That's what makes the Little Guild different than, just a regular pound, if you will. So, we've found through our research that a new facility would really help not only with the animals and the employees and the volunteers, many of whom are, of course, from Cornwall. That existing facility is cramped and tight, and it's not conducive to the animals. It's loud. It was never really designed as a shelter. There's lots of innovations and developments in shelter design. So we've retained to develop drawings and schematics. A architectural firm from Hamden, Silver Petroselli, has done a lot of these shelters to come up with drawings. Those will be very helpful to us in our capital campaign. As was alluded, we've set a target of $4 million. This is not fully public yet. We're trying to have what we call a private phase or quiet phase right now. We're really trying to get a lot of the funds lined up. We think we're at about 3 million already, which is pretty amazing, given conditions in the economy right now. A big chunk of that is from one foundation, the Robert Rosenheim Foundation, which is really getting us started, $1.5 million. So that's a huge start. So we're making good progress on the design of the building. We're comfortable that we can arrange to have this new building built in our current location. We have lots of back and forth looking at properties all over Cornwall and surrounding towns. And one of the major things that came back in our feasibility study was everybody really wanted us to stay in Cornwall. We recognize it's a really important Cornwall institution. It's been around for 60 years. Lots of folks, have gotten their animals from here, but it also draws folks from all over the northwest corner. And we think with a new building that would importantly have a community room where we could actually have community groups coming in, education. It could also be available, of course, to other town meetings and committee meetings. It'll be an attraction to Cornwall overall. People can come in and see the animals currently can't go back and see the dogs. It's just too anxiety provoking for the dogs to have any, and dangerous for people. They're, kind of waste channels. It's not an ideal place to see or meet animals. But if we have a new facility, that would be a lot easier for presenting animals to potential adopters, and also a much more soothing and calming environment to meet those animals and potentially have many more adoptions going through. So we're really excited about it. I mean, we really want to stay in Cornwall, and we think we've got great momentum going from both the design and a financial point of view. So we're happy to address any questions that you have on Jenny's description.
So just one question is your time frame. It looks like you want to start around in 2023, which is not that far away.
It's
So-
not.
So that's significant. Did you say the first half, second half of 2023?
Well, it's going to be a function of, how the fundraising goes and sort of nailing down all the particulars on the design of the project. I mean, currently where we are right now is we've got, roughly 3/4 of our target in terms of fundraising. Some of these pledges over multiple years. So we may have to look at some financing. In other words, if it's not all that money coming in right now in cash, so there may be some pledges that come over some time. So we'll look at some financing. And then of course it's getting all the designs and the bids done. We've retained the architect. We hope to have schematic drawings by kind of late October, November-ish, and potentially a full set of plans that could go out to bid at the end of the year. We have other things to nail down in terms of, securing all the permits, et cetera, for actually doing the building there. But our hope is that we could look to do this sometime next year. We'd like to think about this. That may be aggressive, but as soon as possible.
Great. And then in the last paragraph, it is a request of the board from the Little Guild, request to apply for $50,000 to $75,000 of ARPA funds awarded to the town of Cornwall for the purposes of supporting the building of the facility. Yeah, so there is an ARPA committee that is meeting regularly on issues. We do not have all the money for next year or for the current year. But I believe we're supposed to get another batch of that in October, and then the committee will meet after we receive that, those extra funds. Any questions from the board?
Question.
Yeah,
No, but I would certainly be in favor of Opera donating some of its monies to this. I have my current dog is from the Little Guild, and I feel very strongly about it. Thank you.
Good.
thank you, Priscilla. Janet, any questions?
Yes, I'm wondering, so the $4 million would be allocated just for the building, correct?
Well, for the building and architectural fees and preparing the site. We had considered looking elsewhere, and obviously that was a problem from a number of reasons. But yeah, that is a rough estimate that we've gotten from other architects and construction firms based on roughly the square footage and the current site that we're in. So it's a very ballpark number. We'll have a much better sense of that once we get these more complete design drawings, and that's kind of a moving target. We all know kind of what the state of inflation is in the economy. And so we're really gonna have a better fix once we get these drawings developed by the architect so that we can go out to bid on those.
So Charles, I just have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
So if you don't get to $4 million, are you not going to be able to do this, or are you going to start anyway?
Well, I think our hope would be not to have to take on debt for this. As I said, we may, my druthers as the treasurer would be that we get to the full amount of pledges. And then based upon the value of the existing site that we have in there, which will come down, but that is existing site, plus some of our other financial resources. We do have an endowment, which is held with the Northwest Connecticut Community Foundation, that we could get some bridge financing during that construction period. I'd be leery to kind of dip into our endowment to sort of go ahead and pay for it. So, we're really kind of on multiple tracks. It's the fundraising track plus the design track. But I think we have a strong view. I've been on the board about 4 or 5 years now, and we've looked at the existing facility, and it just doesn't work. It really doesn't work. So we've got good momentum now. My view is, we'll get to that 4 million number somehow. And it may not be in the next 2 or 3 months, but it's going to be hopefully soon.
But in your notes, you also said that you were debt-free, that you have a healthy amount of money in the bank, and otherwise, are a healthy, strong organization.
Yeah, exactly. That was key. I mean, the Little Guild has had its ups and downs, frankly, over the last 10 years. One of the things we've really focused upon in the last several years, and Jenny, I have to give kudos to her, has done a tremendous job in terms of our marketing and our fundraising. But, we've had positive operating results in at least the last 2 years. We have an endowment of over $1 million, which, is not that much, but it's healthy. So what we really want to do is to show to funders that we are a good, healthy, financially prudent going concern.
Well, I got my dog also, a Maltese from Little Guild, so I'm certainly in support as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to add one thing. If anyone, sounds like most of you have already been to the Little Guild, but if anyone wants to come down for a tour, or we're there, you can visit with some kitties and dogs and see what we're talking about.
Are you going to do like a press release or a publicity campaign now that you've come here? And so I think this is sort of is this the first launch of that? Or, I mean, obviously people know if you've been doing fundraising, but are you going to step that up a little bit or put out more publicity about your efforts?
We will be. As I said, we're kind of nailing down all the arrangements about our current site. And so we do hope to kind of get all that nailed down and then have a press release that would go for, kind of make a formal announcement of it. But we did retain a consultant on fundraising, Sharon. She's worked with a lot of nonprofits in this area. And there's kind of a process to fundraising that she's advised us. You kind of go through this quiet phase where you try to get the big bulk of your funds in. And then a lot of that has been from a few donations, but mostly individual donors. Then we try to get some large local foundations in this area. And they don't want to be the first ones in. They want to kind of wrap it up. So we're sort of approaching that stage. They want to put their money right to work. And then you go really public and try to finish things up. So my guess is that's all going to happen within the next couple of months. So de facto, we're kind of public here now in this public hearing, but we haven't sort of formally launched that phase of it yet.
Great. So then any other questions? So I'd make a motion that we endorse the Little Guild's plans to rebuild their facility in Cornwall and send on their proposal to the ARPA committee for its consideration. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. And yeah, great, unanimous. And thank you both for coming. Appreciate the thorough presentation and all the work that you've done to date. And it's very good to hear you're making plans to stay in town, because I think it really is, it adds a lot to the community. And it's very good news to hear you've gotten this far along.
Thank you. Thank you. So
Thank
much.
you.
Okay, we'll drop off now. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay,
Have a good
thank
evening.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, oh, Okay. So, car accident on Cemetery Hill. It's all right. So, back to our agenda, just additions. While we're roll here, River Road, Jim Bannicky, the highway foreman, has kept me appraised of an issue on River Road there. As we know, it's a dirt road that's very close to the river, hence the name. And there is a very steep embankment there that gets continually eroded by the river. And there's one section where there's a cone out, if people want to see it, where the bank has lost some of the rocks that support it. So we will be looking to repair that, put in more boulders there to keep the road from deteriorating and becoming impassable. So I did look at it briefly with engineer Steve McDonald last week, and he endorsed the idea of using large rock as opposed to precast or other things. That's generally what's held to be the most effective in these situations. So I'm working with Karen Nelson at the land use office to notify people in the river communities that that's an area that we're concerned about, and we'll have to take some corrective action. If you go down to the river, you can see where the washout is. And there's also an area we repaired a number of years ago, a similar fashion. If you look downstream from the push 'em up, pull off there is an area where there's a lot of boulders that we've used to secure the road base. So that will hopefully be getting done this fall.
Good.
Any
Who's gonna do that work, Gordon?
we haven't decided yet. First, we
Okay.
gotta get the permits, but it's gonna have to be somebody with a large excavator. And the road will probably have to be shut for a day or so while we're getting the rock in place. But we haven't quite got that down, but it's beyond what the town forces can do themselves with our equipment. Okay. Any other thoughts on that? We'll try to give people plenty of warning, because again, the road will have to be closed. It'll be similar, but more extensive than the work that we did also on River Road, right where it meets 128 there by the bridge. So that's where, a constant cause of concern, because the river again is very close to the road. So then another addition, Priscilla, you had senior luncheon inside.
Yeah, they've been at Foot Field for the summer. And Jen Marco said she had to get permission from the board to take it indoors. And I think she's planning, I think that the church will allow them to use the parish hall. But the town provides a senior lunch once a month, and it's well attended, 30 to 40 people. I'm one of those seniors and thoroughly enjoy it. And Jen Marco told me the other day that we had to allow them permission to move indoors. I didn't know that, so I said I would bring it up at the selectmen meeting tonight.
Yeah, that's good of you. I think we haven't encouraged indoor dining as we know the COVID has been out there. I did hear the president declare the pandemic is over at this point, but it does not mean that the COVID issue has gone away. And I still have some reservations about, especially getting our most vulnerable people together if there was an outbreak. But I think there's also on the other side, especially in the wintertime, isolation is also a problem that people should be able to make a choice here, but an informed choice. And I think we would encourage people to be vaccinated, as of course we have a very high vaccination rate, and we would just have to take a look and make sure the numbers don't come back strongly in the fall and winter the way it may. Hopefully it won't. But again, COVID is a real concern, and I think people should know that going into this. So with that in mind, do you want to make a motion to grant that to happen with people knowing, sort of swim at your own risk type thing?
I would make that motion. Swim at your own risk. Let's move our senior lunches indoors.
Okay. All right, is there a second to that?
Second,
Okay, any discussion? And I think it might be good also, if we got a little time to check out other places where they are having senior lunches, if there's best practices and things for, to try to reduce any risk.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
any other discussions on that? All those in
Yes.
favor? Oh, yeah.
Actually, I have a question. I'm wondering
Right.
if at the first luncheon, we might be able to provide a booster, because there are new variants and there are boosters that address that. Might there be an opportunity to have, a vaccination clinic and then go eat your lunch? Not that you'd be necessarily protected at that time. Obviously, it takes a couple weeks, but it might be a good incentive to get people there and then protect them.
Is that Betty van available for that type of thing?
We would be able to set that up, yes. But
Right, so-
Michelle, I think Michelle was eager to share some information too. Michelle
Okay,
Shep.
Michelle,
Well, one, we do have a clinic set up. We just got one set up. It's gonna be October 12th at Town Hall. So we do, it will be a COVID and a flu clinic coming to town on the same day.
And that's
Well-
October 12th from 11 to 2, Michelle?
11 to 2 will be for sure the flu. We're hoping to get the flu people to stay later. The COVID clinic will be 11 to 5.
Nice. And they're
I'm
gonna have
curious-
they're gonna have the new vaccine. Excellent.
Yeah, it'll be the covariant mix one.
Good.
Now, Park and Rec did send a letter to all 3 selectmen. I'm curious if any of you received the letter that we sent out over the weekend.
I did not.
Was
didn't
it,
see,
was it sent out by email?
Yes,
I
sent to each of you. Park and Rec had a letter requesting what Priscilla brought up and addressing all your concerns. I sent it to the selectmen, Janet, to your Carlson email, and then Priscilla's.
I have a select person email.
Oh, maybe
yes,
it
so
went to
it's-
the wrong one.
It probably went into, I've set up my email specifically, but I'm
Okay.
select woman at, I'll send it to you, Michelle.
Okay, but just to address some of the concerns you had in this is in that letter, we addressed that we certainly would encourage masking for people and put out if you're not feeling well, please don't come. And vaccinated, boosted, all those things would be helpful, but obviously, and our seniors are in fact, they're chomping at the bit to get their next booster. But we too would like to ask the town to use some ARPA funds. The CDC recommends air filters, the HEPA filters. So they're not that expensive. We've looked into it, can get a couple of filters and fans for under $500 that we could put in whatever room we're gathering in. That would help reduce the risk. And it's not just the seniors, but it's all of our indoor activities. The letter addresses, we're ready to plan for Halloween and Christmas and all the winter activities that Park and Rec would like to resume. Knowing it is difficult with our seniors and they are vulnerable, but at the senior luncheon, we took a vote and I would say it was near unanimous that every one of them were eager to return indoors. And I will say, I went to the art opening at the UCC and many of our seniors are there. So us returning to indoors is not unique for people in Cornwall. It's actually unique that we're not indoors. Everywhere else is. And so those seniors are already being exposed indoors and all those things. So whether we hold town events through Park and Rec or not, it's not keeping people out of events. It's just keeping us from having events. So we really hope that you will open it up for us to return to some normalcy. Thank you.
you're welcome. And I think you need to resend the letter because I don't think anybody got it.
Okay.
Was there a specific ask as far as the filters, like how many did you want and what was the total cost?
I didn't do a specific ask, just a matter of if we're, if it can be done, we figured 2 HEPA filters probably would cover the town hall building, certainly the parish house. But, and then a few fans for windows where you could push the air out. So not anything specific, but I will happily resend that letter to all of you.
Thank you.
When do you need that? Because, like, if you want to have that set up, I mean, I don't know if you're in a position to say, here's a specific amount, but perhaps we could, like, I would certainly be willing to endorse what you're doing and then have you submit the amount.
I would say that specifically, we would love to have them by senior lunch, which is October 11th. We looked them up on Amazon, and I think it's easy enough that we can order, the town can order through the town Amazon account and get them fairly quickly. So it's doable, and happy to, Jen is here, and I'm happy, she and I are getting together tomorrow, so we can happily put some specifics together. So when I resend that letter, it can come out with specific fans too, if that makes it easier.
When does the ARPA team meet again, Gordon?
We're waiting to get the rest of our money and get our proposals together, was how it was left.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So anything else on that? Okay, thank you. Next we have change date for the annual.
Oh, Gordon, we didn't wrap that up. We had discussion, but we didn't finish the vote.
Okay, so all those in favor of allowing the senior lunch to be inside?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And we have a date then of October 12th for the boosters. Okay, all right, so next we have change of date, annual town meeting. We are having to change that from October to November due to the fact that we're still waiting for the audit to be completed. So we're looking now at November 4th as a date for that meeting. So we again have a couple of selectmen's meeting before then. So we hope to nail down that date by our next meeting, but there will be no town meeting the end of October. So we're looking at a November date for that. I will be working on a report, as all boards and commissions need to have a report for the annual report at that annual town meeting. So I hope to get a draft to you by our next meeting. We did get a letter from Mira, which is the organization which has for years, it used to be CRA, disposed of our garbage. I believe I forwarded you that letter. Did you get a copy of the letter from Mira?
Yes.
So basically they're looking, because they shut their Hartford incinerator down, it aged out. Many towns with a majority of the tonnage that was going in the Hartford incinerator have contracted outside of Mira to dispose of their garbage. There are towns, especially in the northwest corner and along the Connecticut Valley, that did not opt out. They still belong to Mira, but Mira is looking for new arrangements by the end of June 2023. And so we will see what that means for us. And again, we just got the letter. They're going to work with the towns. We are under contract with them through 2027. So they can't just say, we're not going to take your garbage, but they are looking, because of their reduced size, of doing some other configuration, and probably Mira, as we know it, may cease to exist at some point. So again, the garbage business is still in a state of
returning 2005.
it's in a state of flux at this point. But I have contacted some of the area, other first selectmen to see what their thoughts are, and where we go forward. But just to let the board know that is on the radar at this point. Any thoughts from the board on that?
I'd just be interested to hear what the other select people are thinking about, and, you know, like if there's a benefit to work together, then obviously that's a good move. We might be able to have more impact on what happens.
Right. That's the thought. I think Ted's talking to some of his counterparts in the transfer stations around. A lot of the towns that have gone to other contractors have curbside pickups. A lot of the towns with transfer stations have kept with Mira. And Mira does own a transfer station in Torrington where we Paynes dumps our garbage at this point. So again, those arrangements may be changed at some point, but it will definitely be something we have to pay attention to and work towards a more permanent solution to what we're doing.
Gordon, just a quick question. So when do we actually have to say what we're going to do?
Well, they're under some sort of contractual obligation, as I said, in 2027. I assume they're going to get, they're going to have some proposals for us probably by early 2023, as far as if they want to change things. And I know we're reaching out to our haulers and our other selectmen to find out what some of the other ideas are. And some of the other towns nearby have gone to private haulers, and we'll find out what their experience has been.
Okay. I guess I would still like to keep focusing on a town-wide composting, food composting. Because I can tell you, like I've got a family of 5. We throw out 1 garbage bag and it's not even full every, once a week. So it makes a huge difference to do food composting. And I would certainly want to keep moving forward on that to the best of our ability.
Agreed. Okay. Any other thoughts on Mira? Let's see, speaking of waste, West Cornwall wastewater project update. I've sent the proposed contract agreement to the town attorney, so hopefully we'll have some work up on that by the time the project group gets together again in mid-October. So they're scheduled to meet the same day as the flu clinic, I think, or maybe the day before. So anyway, so we hope to get going on that once we get the contract in place. There has been some tangible progress on fiber optics with a cabinet installed up on Great Hill, and our work group has contacted other people in other areas where cabinets are sprouting up in the region. So apparently when they get the cabinets installed, the next step will be stringing fiber. So our goal is to have an area-wide meeting about fiber optics soon. So we can get some commitments from Altice as far as their work schedule. Any other thoughts on fiber optics?
That's a big deal. That's a very big deal.
It is a big deal. Yes. So, anything else on that? Next, we have public comments. Any comments from the public? I can't see yours. Oh, I can see your screens. So, any questions from the press? I see the press is here.
Yes, sir. The press is here, but has no questions. So thank you.
Okay, going easy tonight. Thank you. Great. Okay, any other questions from the public? No questions? Okay, well, thank you all for attending, and October will be a busy month. I'm going to try to put out a newsletter to try to get all these meetings organized. I know we have a housing forum set up for the middle of October. There's Little Guild's having their race. There's an open house celebrating 90 years of the fire department. So there's a lot of activities coming up in October. So we're going to try to get all those down with the right dates. There's no town meeting. But again, thanks people for getting the clinic set up. So there will be plenty to do to keep things moving forward. Okay. Thank you all and good night. See you in 2
Bye.
weeks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good
Bye.
night.